Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to Nectar sponsored Business Central manufacturing overview. Thank you for joining. Let me begin by introducing myself. Gudmundsson, who we refer to as B. He usually does the introductory slides, but he couldn't be with us today. So I, Corey, am going to be co-hosting with Johannes to present the manufacturing portion of Business Central to you all. And like I said, Johannes, who is the CEO of Nectar, he will be giving the technical overview of manufacturing. Today, we will be going into manufacturing inside of Business Central. It is not industry specific, so it will be just a general overview of how manufacturing works in Business Central. We will be taking questions at the end of the demo. So if you have a question that arises during the demo, just put it in the chat box for us to review and answer once the demo is done. And also at the end of the webinar, after the Q&A, we will be doing a raffle for a lucky participant to win a new Surface Pro. We've already have a few past winners tell us how good of a machine it is. So please stick around to the end for a chance to win. Okay, so for today's plan, I'll be giving a quick background of who we are for those who don't know us, then go over Dynamics 365 Business Central with you as far as what it entails and the pricing structure of it. Then I will hand it over to Johannes so he can share with us exactly what's going on with manufacturing inside of Business Central. And then at the end, we'll turn back to me so I can announce the winner of the Surface Pro. So let's get into this. Okay, so Nectar. We were founded in 2001 and have been in business for almost 18 years now. We are a gold certified Microsoft partner, which is the highest level to obtain in the Microsoft partner world. And we are also a tier 1 partner for all of Microsoft's cloud offerings, which is also top tier for Microsoft. We have a team of 50 spread all over the US and beyond. And we do support our customers 24/7. We have some customers who do not close, so it makes sense for us not to as well. So we are available to you as a customer 24/7, 365. And the main technologies we implement is Dynamics 365 Business Central, which is an ERP system from Microsoft. You may have heard of NAV or Navision, now currently Dynamics Nav. This is pretty much the cloud version of that platform, and it also is now taking over NAV, and there's an on-premise Business Central as well. Power BI. This is also a Microsoft product we use for reporting and business intelligence. And our vendor and customer portals for those who need excellent communication with their customers and vendors. We do implement these portals using Magento technology. The Microsoft stack. I'm sure many of you have heard this term before, or at least heard of digital transformation. It's big with Microsoft right now. And of course, at the heart of this for us is the ERP system, Business Central. Then coupled with that, or alongside of it, are these easy to use tools. First, we have Power BI for all of the reporting and data analytics. We also have Azure for deploying anything like apps, data, servers, etc. into the cloud. We use the Azure services. And last but not least, O365 or Office 365 for you and your employees to use for day-to-day activities such as email, Excel, instant messaging, video conferencing, intranet, etc. So the features of Business Central, of course, it's an ERP system. So at the heart of it is the finance. It's an international ERP system. So all currencies, all financial statements, everything financial is in there. We also have supply chain management, purchasing, sales, manufacturing, which we'll be going over today, and service management. So what does manufacturing include for Business Central? So we have demand forecasting, capacity planning, finite loading, sales inventory forecasting, agile manufacturing, production orders, production bill of materials, version management, machine centers, and supply planning. The pricing. So Microsoft Business Central comes in two different tiers. So we have Essential and we have Premium. Essentials is $70 a month and Premium is $100 a month. For manufacturing, you will need the Premium license. And for anybody who is on NAV or GP or SL right now on-prem and want to move to Business Central in the cloud, Microsoft is offering a 40% discount on the licenses. And not only that, but they will double the users for you. So if you say have 5 users that you have in NAV, Great Plains or SL, they will give you 10 users plus that 40% discount. So it's a great offer going through 2021. And if you guys want more details on that and want to know how the migration would work, you can just go online to nectar.com, send us your contact info, and we will get back to you to answer any questions you may have. And this is our website. We just launched it. It's so it's a brand new look, brand new feel, and can be utilized to gather a lot of information. We put a ton of information up there. Our main goal is to provide customers and prospects as much information as they can around the ERP systems in general, plus, of course, information about the Business Central ERP system. I implore you all to go to our website and click on this iNectar University tab here. This will have where you would find us basically. It will let you know when the next webinars are and what it's on, as well as our on-site learning classes. We have scheduled up there as well if you want to do on-site learning. Also, we have our YouTube channel for iNectar University. So subscribe to our iNectar channel. We have over 140 videos on there now, all based on Dynamics Nav and Business Central, to give you many classes on specific topics. And again, please stick around to the end to have a chance to win the raffle. And that's all from me. So now I'm going to turn it over to Johannes, who has a great presentation planned for us all. So Johannes, it's all yours.
Awesome. Thanks, Corey.
You're welcome.
Let me see if I can share my screen. Is Business Central visible?
Yes.
Okay, great. So thank you for attending today. We are going to go into manufacturing in Business Central, and I am going to go through the live system. So if I have any hiccups, every time that anybody does a live demo on a live system, they come with the disclaimer that there might be some hiccups or posting problems, basically because the setups are possibly not set up perfectly, but I've gone through this once or twice, so it should be fine. Now, if you watch the YouTube videos or you follow us on the iNectar University, you'll recognize this company, the Coffee Mugs Incorporated. And we've done a lot of videos using the coffee mugs and coffee items and this fictional company. And so I'm going to keep going on that, and you're going to recognize some of the items as I'm going through it. So I'm logged in. This is Business Central. If you haven't seen Business Central before, it's an awesome product from Microsoft. It's all fully in the cloud. You can deploy it as an on-prem if you want to, but the on-cloud version has everything. And it's part of the Microsoft stack. And if I click on here, you can see that I'm inside the Microsoft stack. And I can see a lot of different apps here for Excel, Outlook, OneDrive, Power BI, and other things. And this all holds in tandem. But today I'm just going to focus on manufacturing, so I'm not going to get into any of these. But it's good to know that this, the Microsoft stack is sort of changing the way we do things in ERPs. So let's get going. I'm here, logged in. If I go into items, I have a list of items. And my goal today is to produce packaged coffee beans. So basically we have bagged coffee beans that we want to make. It's a very simple production order. And I'm going to show you how I go about setting that up and actually issuing that order. And I make these coffee beans, or these bags, based on forecast. So I could have triggered it based on sales orders, but in this case, I'm basically anticipating sales orders come in, so I want to make it ahead of time. So I use the production forecast. And then that should generate a production order based on forecast, which should generate a purchase order for the ingredients, and this should all be scheduled on a work center. So that's kind of the gist of what I'm going through today. So I have these 3 items up here. I have coffee beans by the pound. I have coffee bags, which is just the standard paper bags that they go into. And then this is the finished good, packaged coffee beans. So what I'm doing is I'm putting 1 pound of coffee beans into a bag, closing it up, and producing this finished good. Very simple. So how do I actually set that up? When I created these raw material items, that's basically just like creating a standard item. There was really nothing special about that, just hammering in the item, setting up standard things, and off I went. For the finished good, however, we need to configure that differently. We need to tell the system that it's a finished good and it has a production bill of material connected to it. So if I go into that, and by the way, if you are unsure about anything that I'm going through, you can actually probably find videos specifically on that in the YouTube channel that we have. So feel free to browse there. All right, so I have this item, the packaged coffee beans. And it's set up pretty normally all the way here, except when you get down to replenishment. Here I have to set up that this item is a production order replenishment system, meaning that we make this item. So we're not going to buy it with a purchase order. We're actually going to issue a production order to make it. It's a make to stock item, and it has a particular routing and a particular production bill of material. So this is what sets it apart. If this is filled out, we know that this is a finished good. So I'm going to just go into the production bill of material here. Take a look at that. So I get in here, and let me just go ahead and click here, select from full list, and into the production bill of material. Let me see. Here we go. All right. So we've created this production bill of material, and it has the number coffee, number 1, description, bagged coffee beans. It has been certified, meaning it's ready to be used. And it has 2 items on there. It has 1 coffee bag that we're going to use, and 1 pound of coffee beans. So each coffee bag has 1 pound. So this is where you would define your ingredients for your production bill of material. Now I set up also that we expect 5% scrap. And manufacturing in Business Central has a lot of options and a lot of setups that you can get into. But what I'm going through right now is the kind of the simplest setup of how to get started. And I recommend you, if you have never done this before, just go simple in the beginning. And you can always add on more complexity as you get further into it. But the scrap percentage is a minor complexity that I decided to add because it's fairly easy to understand. And basically what that means is that as I'm pouring these coffee beans into the bags, I expect 5% to not hit the bag or go on the floor or something like that. So we should be buying 5% more and consuming 5% more. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and close this out. So that was on the production bill of material. And if I go into routing is, I found out that throughout many years of implementing Nav and being involved in all those processes, is that a lot of companies don't really look at routings. They just look at production bill of materials as they're doing their production, and they're not interested in the actual steps, at least not tracking that in the system. And that's fine. In Business Central, you do not need to have routings. You can have that empty and the system will function perfectly. It will just create a production order with the ingredients and on it goes. But I decided to keep routing in here, just at least so people can see that it is part of the system. What is a routing? Let's get into that. Go in here and edit this routing. So I created a route called Coffee 1, and this is, we're going to be bagging coffee beans. So I have a work center and that I've defined in the system. That is a bagging machine. It basically is pouring in bagging. This is a machine. And I've calculated that it takes 10 minutes to set this machine up. And it takes 1 minute for every pound or every bag that I bag. And the cost for each one is $1. So it costs $60 about to run it per hour. So a routing is basically the description of the process as it's going through, the machines or even people. And you can attach time to the routes and you can attach cost. So this way, your capacity is being managed. You know how much you can do per day, and you know how much the cost of labor and cost of machine is on top of the ingredients. So in my mind, I think this is maybe underused in the systems today. I don't think a whole lot of people, well, some people use this, but it takes a little bit of management. So I'm going to actually use this and show you how that works. All right, so I get out of this. So this is the setup of the item. The item is now set up for production. I'm going to close this out and take a look at the demand. So we have something called demand forecasting. And I created a demand forecast for 2018. And you just get into that. And it doesn't have a whole lot. Again, this is a demo, so the real environment would have a lot more numbers. In our demo, we are reliving the 22nd of April 2018 over and over and over again. That's like Groundhog Day. That day never changes in our demo. So that's fine. So we imagine the day is 22nd of April today. And we want to make 500 that are going to be ready on the 30th. So that's the forecast or demand forecast. It's basically saying we need 500 that need to be ready by the 30th. And I've set it here for the packaged coffee beans, which is the finished good for the product. Okay. So this is an example of a demand screen. Here I am creating a demand for the system. There are other ways to create demand. You can, of course, enter in sales orders. If there are sales orders in the system will take a look at those sales orders and create production orders to fulfill those sales orders. So that's another type of demand. And so all of the demand queues come together into a worksheet where it's calculated how much we need to make. And that's our next step. So if I go in here, close that out, and go into something called planning worksheet. So if you're familiar with manufacturing or production and you've worked with systems before, you are probably familiar with planning worksheets. So planning worksheets, what they do is calculate what you need to make given all the demand and all the existing production orders out there. Because if you create production orders one by one manually in the system, that works if you don't have a lot of demand, or it's very homogeneous demand, like it's always the same item, or very few items that you make. But if you have lots of items that you make, you have lots of production orders out there on a lot of different dates, it gets hard to manage. And the only real way to manage it is by having the system look at all that and suggest what you need to do. And so that's what the planning worksheet does. I can basically come in here, go into actions, functions, and calculate net change plan. So basically, that looks at everything out there, all the demand and all the supply that I have, and calculates what I need to do. And I am going to use a forecast in here, specify that. And in this case, I'm only going to look at one item. Otherwise, it would give me a lot of suggestions in the system. So I'm only looking at my coffee beans. If I didn't specify that in a filter here, then it would look at every item that I have and try to meet the demand of that. Okay. So I hit OK here. And the system creates an entry. It basically went out there, looked at what we needed to do, and which was have 500 pounds created by the 30th. And it says, OK, we need to start at 4:30 on the 27th, and we'll be done by 5 o'clock on the 30th to meet the demand of 500. So it's calculating in the parameters that I put in for how long it takes to do this using capacity planning, and it's giving a suggestion on that. So what I'll do is, and you can even see here the source. So where's the source of this demand? The source is production forecast. That's where it's coming up with the 500. And the source could be many things. It could be an assembly of things. But in this simple example, there is just one source, production forecast, and that's what it's telling us to do. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and accept this action, and then go ahead and, let me just see, carry out action message. And then it brings up this screen. And I honestly would like for Microsoft to add released production orders here as an option, but there isn't, which is fine. We'll live with that. So what we can do is we can create planned or firm planned production orders out of this. And so what is the difference between planned and firm planned? Basically, firm planned means that the date is set and the system cannot change the dates on this production order. It's not something you can move around. Planned means that we're going to do it, but when we do it is optional. Like I could move it up to start it tomorrow or the 22nd and be done way ahead of schedule. In this case, I'm going to just do firm planned and hit OK. And now it's generated. So now I have completed the task for this. So if I go out of here and into production orders, firm planned production order, I can see all of them that are scheduled. I only have one. But firm planned, even though you cannot change the dates on these, it also means that it's not ready to be made on the floor. It's not released to the floor. So there's a special status for production orders that are released to the floor, and those are released production orders. So I need to actually go in here and change the status to released in order to be able to transact on this production order. So now I move that over, and that's done. So now if I go into my released production orders, right here, I have it and it's ready. All right, so we have, the system has a forecast that on the 30th we need to make 500. And I have, using planning worksheet, automatically generated a production order to make that finished good. And that production order is right here in front of us. So let's take a quick look at this one and just take a breather. So we have the production order. This is the finished good. This is the start time for the finished good. This is the end time. We're going to get 500 out of this if we produce what we want. Okay, that's good. Let's take a look at the line. If I take a look at the line, take a look at components, I can see that the system has already calculated how much we need to use for this. We need 500 bags and 525 pounds of coffee beans because we spill 5%. So the scrap factor is already being calculated. All right. If we go into the line and routing, we can see that we run this production order through the bagging machine, and it's the setup time is 10, the runtime is 1 for the 500, and we start at 4:30 and end at 5. So this is where the start time, end time comes in. This is where that is calculated. So if before going any further, I'd actually go back to the capacity planning for a minute and take a look at that machine or that work center. So if I go in here, go into work center, and you can imagine that you have on the floor this bagging machine, and there's somebody who's operating this bagging machine. And there might be multiple orders that they have to do a day. In this case, it's just one order. It's going to go over 3 days, so it's a little bit simplified. But it would be possible that there would be a lot of different orders going through there, and they could be for different items, but the same machine is being used. So what we would like to know is, what are my tasks for this particular machine? And I can take a look at that. Let me just go ahead. I can go here into task list. And here I can see the tasks that this work center has. And so if this was on the floor, you could actually have a screen just showing the task list for a particular work center, and they would be seeing everything that's coming their way. And here, for example, they see the production order, etc. Now, another thing that's interesting about this one is work center loads. Actually, I want to do it through here. So here I can see the load for the work center. And we can see that, let me see, 30th. So allocated quantity here on Friday is 30. So, and we have then 450 left. And allocated quantity on Monday is full. So all of Monday we're using in making this order, and 30 minutes on Friday we're using. So it's 100% loaded on Monday, but only 6.3% loaded on Friday. So this is a really good way to take a look at like the capacity of your work centers and whether you have any capacity. And the system is automatically assigning these according to the capacity you have. And in this case, we have a standard schedule of Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. All right. So that was on the work centers. Let's go ahead and hit the production order again. Oops. All right. And into that. All right. So let's go ahead and figure out the components. If I go into the line here, And I already saw which components we have, right? And actually, in this case, I'd like to get into something called planning, and that is up here. There it is. Okay, so if I get into planning, I get this screen. And I can go ahead and hit Process Calculate Plan. And what the system does, it goes through and figures out what you need to buy to fulfill the components for this order. So it says, okay, you have here a production order for packaged coffee beans, and you're going to need 525 of the beans and 500 coffee bags. And the replenishment system is to buy it. It could have been to make it, but in this case, it's to buy it. And I can select the vendor over here. I have predefined the vendor 10,000 to be the vendor that we get this from. And I can just select that. And then go ahead and hit Actions and make orders. So that's one way of actually providing the purchases for the production order. And this would do that for all different production orders. Now, I'm actually not going to do that. I'm going to show you a different way of doing this. And in Business Central, there's often many ways to do the same thing. If I actually go into the planning worksheet, like here, and I go into, let me see, actions, functions, calculate net change plan. Now, before, I used MPS, which is master planning schedule. And that calculated my demand and the production orders that I needed to create. And I can switch that now to be MRP, which is material requirement planning. And MRP actually calculates the component need for the production orders. I'm just going to pick the forecast here just in case. And now I have to take away the item filter because I'm looking for the components. And I hit OK. And now the system calculates the component need. Now, what's the difference between these two approaches, the planning one and this one? The big difference is that this one is much better at handling bulk. It could combine many different production orders into a purchase, one purchase for the ingredient. So it's better at consolidating. It shows you a better overview. It's just a much more flexible screen. It might not be as pretty as the other one because the other one has some sort of a tree view. But if you do this a lot, you find this one to be a stronger functionally screen, in my opinion. Now here, I can go ahead and select the vendor just like I did before. And I'm going to pick vendor 1 or 10,000. Like so. I can also set up the unit cost, and I'm going to say we pay 25 cents per bag, and this one already comes up with $5 per pound. And then I go ahead and say actions, carry out action message. And I select here to make purchase orders and just hit OK. And now the purchase orders are made. So right now, if I go back here into the main screen and go into purchase orders, I can see that we have a purchase order for Fabricum, which is the vendor that I picked. And I click on that. And I have the items. Let me just make sure, like so. So I've already issued a purchase order. Then I can just go ahead and hit print and print this and send it out to the vendor. And so what I've done so far is I have a production forecast that automatically generated a production order. And from the production order, I created a purchase order to source the ingredients for that particular order. And also the production order has been scheduled. So now I'm going to just quickly post through, and hopefully I'll be successful at that. We get the vendor invoice. And so I'm just going to go ahead and hit actions, post. And we're going to receive an invoice. Oh, we have a lot number for that. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. This is actually an interesting caveat. And I'm working with food, and we actually do a lot of food in Nectar. One of these items happens to be lot tracked. And you might actually have that in your production. And NAV or Business Central actually supports lot tracking. And let me just go ahead and show you how that is set up. I suspect those are the beans. So, yep. We have the beans that actually are lot tracked everywhere, which means that we have to issue a lot number for the beans, because the lot numbers might have expiration dates. And if there's a recall, then you have to be able to trace it back, etc. So let's just go ahead and get through that. So in order to assign tracking to an item or on a purchase order, we need to go into item tracking lines. This is the manual way to do it from a purchase order. Most of the time, you want to actually scan this in on the warehouse side, and you can do that with Business Central. There's all kinds of scanning applications that you can set up and capture the lot number so it comes onto the purchase order. But in this case, we're sort of working high level, so I'm going to just enter it in manually. So I'm just test one here, lot number, and oops, it's going to be 525. We could have gotten multiple lot numbers, so that would have been listed just down here. Just hit close. And let's see if we can actually post this through now. And it thinks. And now it's posted. So it's moved into a posted purchase invoice. You want to open that one? No, that's fine. And now we have the inventory for the items. So if I go into items, I can see now I have 500 coffee bags and I have actually 562 coffee beans. You might wonder, hey, why am I buying more than I need? You only needed 525. And you bought more. You're basically at 562. It should have suggested 525 minus whatever you had. But if I click on here, there's a reason for that. If I go into navigate, availability, items by location, you can see that the coffee beans is in an unspecified location, and that's the blank location. And I've been working a lot in the blank location recently. That just means that I don't have to specify one. But the extra 37 were in the main location. So since that's a different location, it doesn't include that in your demand forecasting or the demand planning. All right. So let me just go ahead and close this out. And close that out. Okay, so we have the ingredients. Let's go ahead and process the production order. So if I go into released production order, and we want to now actually produce these 500 bags. Now, if I go into report, actually, see here, actions print, and I go into a job card. And I preview that. I get basically what I need to use, how much I need to use of that, how much time I'm supposed to use to actually make this, And then I have these lines here where I can type in the output, how much scrap was, what date I produced this, and who I am signing it off. So it's a simple job card for doing the production. This, of course, all can be done with RF or with scanning equipment. But if you want to print it out like this and just have people fill in, that's fine. So I'm going to essentially take what was written on the job card and type that in. So I can go here into, line, production journal right here. And so here I have a quick way of typing in how much I used and how much I outputted. So how much I consumed and how much I outputted. And the coffee beans over here, let's say I consumed 525, I have to actually go into the line and specify the tracking. So I can just go in the lot number here and pick the test one that I have and close that. So I have the 525. 500 were not tracked, the bags, which was fine. And the output quantity is 500. Let's say I got all of that and there was no scrap and I'm finished. Just check that off. So I can go ahead now and post this. And I actually knew about this, but basically what it does, it outputs the quantity 500 out of here. So there's a minor setup that I had forgotten to do before the webinar. I apologize for that, but you get the idea. So that is how you basically conclude the production for a coffee bag or coffee bags using the manufacturing system within Business Central. And I hope you got something out of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Johannes. That was awesome. And thank you for the participants for joining in and experiencing Business Central manufacturing with us. Now for the drawing or raffle. I have a name generator up here that I have used. And well, first, actually, let's go into Q&A. I don't see any questions posted yet. So does anybody have any questions? I'll wait about 2 minutes. Say we wait 2 minutes to see if we have any questions.
I don't see
all
questions.
Right. Yeah, I think we're all right. Cool. So let's jump into the raffle. I guess you did a great job at explaining everything, Johannes.
I guess so.
All right. So let's see. The person that gets the Surface Go is Francisco Martinez. Congratulations, Francisco. We will, after the demo, get in touch with you to get your shipping information and send that out to you. Thanks, everyone, again. Thanks, Johannes, for that presentation, and thanks to the participants for joining. Join us soon. Please visit us at nectar.com as well as our YouTube channel for Nectar University. And if you have any deep questions, whether it's migrations or cost of Business Central or any other questions, just go on our website, and we have a chat box you can use, or you can send a request through our sales support. So thank you, everyone. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye.